Hello everyone and welcome back to Read Aloud with Miss Godfrey. I'm so glad you're joining me today. We are going to be continuing our reading of School Today by Korman. When we last left off, Capricorn Anderson have finally made it back to Garland with his grandmother Rain. So they are back and we don't know if he's ever going to go back to C Average Middle School again. So we're going to pick up today on chapter 23. Chapter 23 is from Mr. Kasigi's perspective. So let's find out what happens and what Mr. Kasigi has to say today. So, here we go. Chapter 23. It says, the conference could not possibly have gone better. I was congratulated by so many people that it was almost embarrassing. Our own district superintendent confided that the principalship of North High would be opening up in a couple of years and the job was mine for the asking. I felt fantastic. Why wouldn't I? I returned to Claveridge flushed with victory. I had no way of knowing that the key word in that sentence was going to be flushed. I'd expected a huge pile of mail and a lot of phone messages and emails, but as I sifted through the papers and envelopes on my desk, the familiar logo of the Consolidated Savings Bank kept turning up. I opened the one marked urgent and unfolded the computer-generated page inside. Dear customer, we are returning this check to you because your account is overdrawn and the transaction cannot be honored. A service fee of $30 has been charged to your account. Stapled to the page was a Claveridge Middle School check with insufficient funds stamped across it in red. It was made out to the American Cancer Society in the amount of $500. My own signature appeared on one of those lines, and on the second line was written Capricorn Anderson. My office tilted and I clung to the arms of my chair for fear of winding up on the carpet. This was one of the checks I had given Anderson. Why was he donating $500 to the American Cancer Society? Not that it isn't a worthy cause, but this money was supposed to pay for the Halloween dance. Hands shaking, I opened up a few more envelopes. They were all the same. The March of Dimes, Habitat for Humanity, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, all for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. An icy feeling spread northward from the base of my spine. If these checks were bouncing, it meant the money in the Student Activities Fund was gone. There had been $4,000 in that account. I waded into the mountain of mail with both hands, tossing envelopes in all directions until I came up with the bank statement. On it, the whole terrible story was laid out for me in detail. There were the checks that I had countersigned, the ones that had bounced and the ones that hadn't. I saw the deposits for the food and music and one or two other expenses that probably had to do with the dance. The rest were all made out to charities. One to the March of Caring was for $1,000. What was going on here? I buzzed my secretary. Get Capricorn Anderson down to my office immediately. Capricorn Anderson is no longer a registered student here. I nearly inhaled my tie. Since when? He left the school last Wednesday, came the reply. His grandmother was released from the hospital. Get her on the phone. There was a brief pause, and then she said, it says here they don't have a phone. I did the only thing I could think of. I called Flora Donnelly. Remember Miss Donnelly? I left messages at her home, her office, and her cell phone number. I must have sounded pretty desperate because she turned up within the hour. By that time, I'd already spoken to my bank manager and a very unfriendly assistant to the DJ who accused me of hanging rubber paper off of my man, yo, whatever that meant. I turned beseeching eyes to the social worker. This is your case, Flora. I know you have special connections to the kid. Can you shine any light on this for me? She examined the evidence, the bank statements and the bounce checks. Her face was a sickly shade of gray, and she looked like I felt. Then she said something I did not expect. Frank, this is all your fault. My fault? What possessed you to give him signed checks? Well, I was going out of town, I defended myself. I didn't want him to be caught short. Besides, we always give kids some responsibility with the Student Activity Fund. They're teenagers. They're supposed to be able to handle it. I warned you that Cap Anderson is a boy who may as well have been raised on another planet. Okay, I admitted. I noticed he wasn't exactly streetwise, but that didn't stop him from committing fraud. He's no more capable of fraud than of flying, she said flatly. It's right there in black and white, I insisted. Page is stuck. He found a way to take the school's money and make it look like he donated it to charity. I've got no choice but to call the police. She was suddenly patient. When you gave him those checks, did you explain to him what a check is and how it works? Of course, I'm not a fool. No, she said. I mean exactly how it works. That the amount of the check gets deducted from the balance in the account and that money can run out. Everybody knows you can't spend more money than you have. Frank, I never told you this, but I lived on Garland Farm until I was 12. When my family moved, I had never even handled money, not even a penny. Money was the key to everything that was wrong with the world, and the leaders of the community kept any kind of financial dealings completely hidden from us kids. I guarantee you that Cap had no idea that anyone had to pay for the checks he was writing, and the power to write them must have seemed almost magical. Once he realized that he could use that power to help people, there was no limit to how much he might try to give away. I was thunderstruck. Are you telling me that he really did take the entire student activity fund and donate it to charity? She nodded. He's got all the idealism of the 60s, but none of the reality checks. He's not a criminal. He's the exact opposite. Totally innocent in every sense of the word. I held my head. It would have been easier if he had robbed the school at gunpoint and taken off for the Mexican border. That I could have explained to the school board, and insurance would have covered it. What am I going to do? Call the March of Dimes and ask for my money back? You could try, she suggested reasonably. This can't be the first time an unauthorized person misspent money. Yeah, to buy a plasma TV, not to donate to charity. Her face betrayed a ghost of a smile. Don't worry. At Garland, there's nowhere to even plug in a plasma TV. Here's a charge that doesn't look very charitable, I muttered, still studying the bank statement. It's to a jewelry store on Main Street. She looked over my shoulder. I'm sure there's some explanation. Prizes, probably. Best dancer, best rapper, most outrageous outfit, that kind of thing. I nodded numbly. That was the moment when I realized there would be no dancing prizes, because there would be no dance. It wouldn't be a popular decision, but I saw now that that was the only way. Sure, I could fight with the bank or plead with the charities, but it would just make me look like a fool. Or I could drive out to this Garland place and demand that the grandmother replace the funds that Cap flittered away. Still, who knew if they had any money at all? They were living in an alternative lifestyle 40 years after the rest of the world had given it up. The local papers would have a field day reporting that while I was running a principals conference in Las Vegas, my trusted 8th grade president was emptying my treasury. The job at North High School was not going to be offered to a court gesture. No, I had to cancel the dance, recoup what I could, and eat the rest. Flora Donnelly was right. This was my fault, but not for her reasons. I had long suspected how the kids went about picking their 8th grade president, and when I chose to look the other way, I was sort of putting a stamp of approval on it. But I always knew that one day it would blow up in their faces. I just never thought it would blow up in mine. Alright, that is chapter 23. So we see that Mr. Kosigi has found out that Cap has spent all of the money and he has donated it to charity. And Miss Donnelly comes to the rescue and is like, listen, he didn't know what he was doing. He thought he was doing a good thing. So we're going to find out tomorrow what happens next. And I hope you join me for that. And have an amazing day. Bye, everybody.